We have to go through some of the obstacles and challenges and the dips, the highs, the lows. We have to go through it. Otherwise, what do we really learn about ourselves? Because what we do as humans is we're constantly distracted. And when we're distracted, we may miss that beautiful moon that's sitting in the sky because we never bothered to look up.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vibrant Soul Society, The Conversations. I'm your host, Baba Sam, the Miracle Man. We have a bright, vibrant soul with us. Joanne, welcome to The Conversations.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you.
So, for people that don't know you, who is Joanne?
Who is Joanne? Many people know me as Rev Joanne Angel BarryColon. I am a compassionate, passionate, loving future being, here to really shine light, to help those see their own light, and just to deliver the messages that I have been guided to deliver and help those do the same.
Okay, so how did you begin on this path of helping others find their light?
As I'm sure it is for everybody, mine actually started off with this. The word that I'm hearing is messy story. Back to about 2006, 2007, a 12-year relationship that I was in suddenly came to an end. And from that, I started doing some searchings to figure out who I was without that 12-year relationship. In 2011, my mom crossed over. Upon my searching from 2008 through 2011, different things were showing up depending healing modalities such as Reiki, crystals, essential oils, numerology. And then later on, after 2011, I then was very intrigued with astrology, medical astrology for that matter. And all that was intertwined with the actual work that I do as a holistic personal trainer, and curious in regards to how to take those two different, one very physical and one very spiritual, and how to bring them together. I kept hearing spirit say, yes, they need to be blended. So with the name of my business, which is spelled with W, holistic, for the whole person, fitness and why, my journey began from that process of understanding that it's not just about helping women, specifically midlife women, lose weight, as much as it's about helping midlife women become more comfortable in the skin they're in and loving the body they're in, so they can focus on releasing whatever issues they've been carrying and transform, so they can fall in love with themselves and be ready to be seen, be heard, be courageous, be confident, and show up in the world as this soul's purpose that they're here to show up as.
Right. So, when in this early part of your life, that 2006, 2007, that area, that messy story, were you starting to search out spiritual things at that point, or was this a messy life at that point when your mom crossed over in 2011? Is that when you started to inquire more?
A combination of both. The messiness came in because when you spend 12 years with a person, you sort of lose yourself in the relationship. Theoretically, the first year that relationship ended, and I went on a quest to try to figure out who I was without that person. Once my mind went to that space of curiosity, it's like spirit was listening to me when I wasn't speaking out loud. Spirit was sending all these different messages to me, bringing different people into my path, such as someone who was a psychic, who I went to for psychic work and therapy work at that point in time, just to discover who I was on a deeper level. And through that work, really opened up the gate and the door to becoming even more curious. I have this love for crystals and recognizing like, okay, so there's crystals involved, then utilizing essential oils and understanding how essential oils work. And everything just sort of dominoed from there. And then once my mom crossed over, the connection with spirit became even stronger because she was one of my spirit guides. She guided me on every step from that point on in regards to my business of what, such as writing books. And the image that's behind me right now, that's my card deck that I created back in March of 2019. I've been using my card deck for so many different purposes, not just giving a general reading, but really helping people to discover who they are. And I actually have the cards here in my hand, and maybe we might pull one later. Each card has 3 elements: a color, a number, and a word. The word can be used as an affirmation, or the word can be something that adds to the person's story. The number is associated with astrology and numerology. The color could be connected to one of their chakras. So much comes through from one card. If I read 3 cards or do a 12-card reading, or if I tap into what I call the astrological and numerology makeup of a person, so they can help understand who they are, so they can navigate. All of this came through with the 12-year relationship that fell apart, and also mom passing. This amazing spiritual intuition showed up, and here I am today doing the work that I do.
Right. I think it's a really important point. When that relationship ended, you had the curiosity to say, who am I? That really led you on the quest, like, who am I? I'm obviously not with this person anymore. Standing on my own now. Dealing with yourself alone usually is very difficult. We're starting to beat ourselves up, like what happened, and really led you down this path of who am I? And what did you discover on that quest when you were answering this who am I question?
It was quite interesting because after the relationship was over, I was sort of alone. As that relationship ended, my high school sweetheart showed back up into my life, who was actually my daughter's father. I had my daughter when that 12-year relationship ended. And then there came my high school sweethearts. So it was like this whole new chapter sort of reopened with him, and really allowed me to move into that space of who am I really now? Past relationship, new relationship from many years back. And now I get to venture into this whole spiritual journey of discovering who I really am. And I'm still, till this day, with everything that's unraveling, I'm still in this space like, okay, so who am I without the bio, without the title? And everything I mentioned earlier is that that's really who I am, this compassionate, passionate being that just holds light so everybody can actually step into their soul's work.
Yeah, it's really about stepping into our essence, that which can't be described. It's not our labels, it's not our identity. It's this eternal light within us, as you
Yes,
could say. So,
yes.
so it's really that. So it's really interesting, these cards. What was that inspiration to pull all 3 elements together? Was it being guided by spirit? How did this all come into play?
Well, everything is always guided by spirit. And I really have to devote the word spirit to my mom, where she, as I was sitting literally I'm a TV host. And back in January of 2019, I was on my very first show hosting, and I hear my mother in my ear as I'm shuffling the deck of cards. And I kept hearing her say, you need your own deck. Now, when spirit speaks, spirit doesn't always speak directly in full sentences. It's like sometimes you got to pull it out. And I kept saying to her, as she was saying, was like, Mom, and this was internal dialogue, not direct dialogue. Mom, I'm on my show right now. Can we table this and come back later and talk about it? And she was very persistent. When I did my second show, a week later, same conversation. There I was still playing with the other deck. I sat down with her and I asked her, so, okay, so Mom, what is this thing about I need my own deck of cards? What's this about? And, she gave me the idea in my head. So I went to the store, I went to Staples, and I got myself a beautiful package of pastel index cards. Because I figured on what she was describing to me, I was like, okay, she wants this to be colorful. So I started writing down different numbers on each card, words for each card, and the card itself, because it was colorful already, each card was pastel. I was like, okay, this will work. So I'm sitting there writing them out, and I'm bringing the cards together, the index cards, and I'm getting ready to shuffle them just to pick them up. And I hear in my ears, she shouted, no. And she startled me, so the cards went flying all over the place. I'm like, well, then what do you mean? And she goes, you need your own deck. And she said it just like that in my ear. So at that point, I just sat and I was like, all right, well, if I really need my own deck, then Spirit, Mom, you're going to have to bring somebody into my journey that's going to help me create this deck. Because Lord knows I am not creative enough to create my own deck. I had the vision, but to actually put it all together did not work. Several days later, through Facebook, some woman popped up on my page who actually creates card decks. So I reached out to her and I told her my story, and she goes, "Oh, I would love to create a card deck." So she gave me the investment behind the card deck. And because this was something my mom said I needed to do, I committed to the investment. And then I had a conversation with my mom several days later. I'm like, "Okay, Mom, the card deck is a extreme investment here. If you really, really want me to have my own deck, then you're going to have to bring somebody into my path that's going to help me with this investment." Because I didn't want to take the investment from my regular income. Literally after 1 hour having a conversation with her, I got a phone call. One of my clients said to me, "I have a friend who's interested in your services. Here's her number, please call her." So I got off the phone with her, called the potential client, had a conversation. And I kid you not when I say this, the exact dollar amount to what my card deck investment was the exact dollar amount to the very program she purchased. And at that very moment, I called back the card designer and I said to her, "I'm going to pay this in full." And she said, "So does anything else change? Do you want the card deck done soon?" I said, "No, we're going to take our time. This is the date I would like the card deck to be created." And there you have it. From that point, I have probably paid back the investment a good 3 times over since having my deck of cards. Using them for readings, using them for what I like to call self-discovery, pulling one card out, and they're just really a lot of fun and very informative. And most people say to me, "Wow, how did your cards know that?" Of course, there's intuition involved.
Right. It's great. I love when you're aligned with spirit, the synchronicities just show up. The mind can't explain it. It just shows up.
Exactly.
Really interesting. Since you have the deck there, what's one card you would pull for our audience watching this?
All right, let's shuffle and find out. Let's see what the audience needs to hear for today. We have a big energy that's actually taking place tomorrow because Pluto actually enters Aquarius as of tomorrow. We'll leave Capricorn for the very last time in our lifetime after 248 years, and we'll enter Aquarius for the next 20 years. So let's see what we need to know based on Pluto entering Aquarius and how this is going to play out for all of us. One more
Interesting.
shuffle. There we go. Beautiful card. Communication. Communication. When we think about the word communication and we talk about Aquarius, Aquarius is really about communication because it's about collaboration. It's about collaborating. It's about connections. It's about literally finding your tribe that you can connect with community and help each other, lift each other, support each other, allow our light to shine so bright that there's no possibility in a doubt of our minds that someone cannot see their own light because our lights are going to be so bright. And then we talk about the number 12. Before we break it down into a single digit like we do in numerology, the number 12 is a portal. And the portal is about being independent, being a leader, and doing things new. With Pluto moving into Aquarius, we're all going to be doing something very new because it's a very different house placement than we've experienced for the last 16 years. That Q energy is about the partnerships and relationships that every one of us are going to be connecting into, the new relationships, the new way of doing things. And every one of us are going to be expanding with new people, just like you and I today. There's no coincidence that you and I, for the first time, are meeting. I know we've set this up several weeks back, but we're meeting for the very first time. And then when you do add the 1 and 2 up, it adds to a 3. But before I dive into that 3, let me just talk about that 12 based on astrology. When we talk about the astrology energy of the 12th house is associated with Pisces. And just like we have Pluto getting ready to transit into Aquarius, we also have our north and south nodes that are currently in Aries and Libra, getting ready to move out of there and move into Pisces and Virgo. That takes place as of January 10th of 2025. So as we move into 2025, we are going to have many transit shifts occurring, which plays a big role in how we will be communicating. And then when we look at that 1, 2, which is the 3 energy, 3 again is about coming together in communication, coming together in creativity, wanting to learn something differently, doing it differently for that matter, listening differently, watching differently, and making a real difference in what we are sharing with one another. Making sure that we are connecting with the right people to help us expand. And when we talk about that 3 energy regarding the 3rd house, the 3rd house is associated with Gemini and Mercury. Mercury, planet of communication, technology, travel, and learning, is currently in what's called the shadow period in Sagittarius. And what that just means is it's getting ready to go into its retrograde. And Sagittarius is fire. Sagittarius is about truth telling. Sagittarius is about higher consciousness. So with Mercury going retrograde in Sagittarius, this is going to be a time where we're going to slow down so we can really learn to speak our truth and speak our message. And because the 3rd house is associated with Gemini energy, we do have Jupiter transiting Gemini right now and in a retrograde. Jupiter is about expansion that we're all going through regarding how we're communicating, how we're networking, how we're brainstorming, what we're writing, what we're speaking, and what we're voicing our opinions on. So we come back to the color now, because we already talked about the number, we talked about the words, now we talk about the color. The color pink is associated to the high heart chakra, which is about compassion. It's about being passionate, being joyful, being grateful. And that's the energy we're going to be in Aquarius energy, because we're coming together, connecting. This is not about beating each other up. This is not about, I'm going to be better than you. This is really about, how can I support you? How can I help you step up so you can do the things you really want to do? So here's the message we have with this Pluto Aquarian energy that we're coming into. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's actually perfect because we're here to step into Aquarius. It's about collaboration, helping one another. We saw a lot of division, especially with the last election in the US. It's still a very divided country. So I'm
Yes.
hopeful with this Aquarius energy, we can become united and help each other because that's when we are strongest.
Yes, exactly. And the communication, what we're all going to really be communicating about and raising the Earth's vibration, because if we are all compassionate and we are all in a state of gratitude, we're also going to be in a state of joy. And whoa, what a high vibration that's going to be.
Right, exactly. It's a perfect reading going into this next 20 years. I think
Yes.
Pluto's for the next 20 years in Aquarius. So it's going to be a really good time to come together and build a better Earth, where it's
Exactly.
about collaborating, helping one another, and supporting each other. Which reminds me, before we were talking, before we started here, which I think is really good, coming into this energy that you're running in Women Empowerment group or seminar. So you want to talk about that a little bit? Because it's right in line with this energy that we're talking about.
It's so interesting because when we speak on women empowering women, this private group recently was born several months ago and came in such a perfect time because, again, it really is. I'm really all about empowering women and also men. I always get a little pushback. And what about the men? Well, the men are coming. Ideally, we want to have strong women so those strong women can stand side by side with those men and lift the men up. Because there's men that need to be lifted as well. And as you said earlier, there's been so much division over the last 16 years that we really need to learn how to support each other. So when we think about this beautiful private group of women empowering women, the private group meets once a month, second Monday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it is a membership. Anyone who decides to come in, they can turn around and invite their friends. I usually do a VIP invitation where they can come in for one free meeting with the purchase of the 6-month membership. And they can learn more about that membership upon reaching me. Or they can come in for one meeting at a VIP price for that day as well. The membership is based on 6 months If they decide they love it, they'll continue to come for the next 6 months and just continue it on. And what takes place in the Women Empowering Women's group is we kick off with a card full like we just did, astrology insight. I have a special guest speaker that comes in and speaks about a specific topic. Then once the guest speaker is done speaking, there's a Q&A. And then we move into this table conversation of whatever we all resonated with based on the conversation that took place. And then just before the meeting comes to an end, everybody around the table gets a chance to share whatever it is that they need a little support in, they need empowerment in, they need accountability on. They share what they've accomplished from the last time we met. And it's just really a great meeting to come together and support every woman that shows up. Right now, the group is small. My intention is that every month we get at least 5 new women to join us. Before the end of 2024, we'll have a nice sized group of women empowering women.
Yeah, it's really important. I was speaking to someone last week, and we really need more women in leadership. She's saying globally, there's a really big discrepancy, and they're predicting that's actually 130 years the way we're going right now before women are equal to men. So it's really important. So when the men say, why aren't you including men? It's because women have been so pushed down or
Yes.
so this is really important work that more women need to step into who they are and be proud of themselves.
It's like you said, where women have been pushed down. I truly believe from my own experiences and witnessing other women's experiences, when you have a strong woman who is independent, and when I use the word independent, it's not about not needing a man, it's just independent with herself, where she's strong enough to support and stand by the man that she's with or the man that she's looking to be with. It's two people that come together with empowerment with each other. And then that partnership, that relationship with each other is so much more powerful than if you have one person who's not that empowering and the man that's trying to keep himself lifted. There's like that imbalance going on. Women coming together, being empowered, standing in their power, and sharing their message is extremely important as we move into the next 20 years of our lives.
So it brings me back to an interesting connection here. When you were leaving that 12-year relationship, you're really forced with that. Who am I? Stepping into your own power of this is me and trying to find that identity.
Yes, so true. And it's so interesting because in that chapter of my life, one of the titles I had was a female natural bodybuilder competitor. I still train, I still strength train, but not with the title of being a competitor. The role I have now with spirit, the connections is just so interesting and powerful at the same time. The body I have with my physical body and the messages I get really quickly with the connection with spirit work really nicely together.
The physical body strong and the spiritual body strong, and blending those together is really important. That we're here to enjoy the human experience. If the body's not strong and healthy, it's really hard to enjoy this experience.
Yeah, that is so true. And I love that you just said that the body is not strong and healthy, because that's one of my biggest messages for women specifically in regards to why strength training is so important for them. It's not the vanity of it. It's not about wanting, as the health and fitness industry speaks on, about losing weight. It really is more about when you have a strong foundation physically, that strong foundation allows you to step into your confidence where you do want to stand up in front of your audience and share your message, where you're strong enough to do that. And that power literally does come within you, because it's this echo that shows up. When you feel good in your body, when you feel strong in your body, when your body's healthy, it's like you know it and you want to share it.
Yeah, another important factor in women empowerment is giving that confidence that the world is very difficult. How do you help women with this confidence that don't believe in themselves?
Well, that's one of my biggest purposes when women do come to me in regards to the initial, what we use the word as self-growth discovery session. Whatever it is that their story is, their mess that their weight is attached to, it's really getting to that place where they get to share their message And not necessarily in regards to the Woman Empowering Women's group. This could be just general when women work with me. And of course, if they are coming to the group, this is really allowing them that opportunity to have that platform, that safe space that they can share whatever it was that might shut their voice down or made them feel not enough, small, or not valued. They get to share that story. And that's really the most important part of when we talk about the weight that women hold on to. The moment a woman shares her story about the time where the weight showed up and what is connected to, the emotional weight, that very moment, literally that particular woman starts to shred the emotional weight that she no longer needs because she, for the first time, spoke about it. And spoke about it in such a way where it wasn't about, well, I'm going to judge her or we have to fix it. I'm not there to fix anything. I'm there just to hold the space so you can share whatever it is you feel at the time that weight showed up in the story that's connected. And that itself gives them the confidence. It allows them to literally fall in love with who they are. It knocks out all the old beliefs they believed about themselves regarding different things they've heard over the years of not being good enough, not being smart enough, not being the right person, not being in the right body for that matter. Knocks that all out. We break free of all the old habits and all of the old beliefs, and we create a more powerful woman that can really stand within herself. And I mean, I've witnessed women who come in and have this goal of they want to lose a certain amount of weight. And it's not about the weight loss. It's about let's reshape that weight. And they end up being the exact same weight they were when they came to me 6 months later. However, their body looks extremely different. Their confidence is sky high. They literally love themselves. They often say to me, I weigh the same, if not more. I'm like, yes, because it's reshaped. You're stronger. And now you have more lean muscle. You're no longer over fat and under muscle. And it transforms everything for them and just allows them to feel more confident in the body they're in so they can show up.
Yeah, I think you make an important point there that you're not here to fix them. You're just here to hold space for them. I think it's really important. People that need to be fixed, they're not broken. It's just a matter of getting their mind in the right place so they can share that story, so they can drop that weight that you were talking about, that they're really shutting themselves down and just holding space with no judgment, no criticism, just encouragement makes
Yes.
such a huge difference in the world.
Yes. And also with no restrictions and no limitations. Because what I say to women, when we're restricting ourselves with food or how many steps we have to take a day, that's restrictions and limitations. And that spills over into our everyday life. So when we can let go of that idea of like, I have to restrict myself or limit myself to this, and I can have unlimited access to whatever it is I desire, because it's your birthright to do, the abundance that shows up and the excitement they get knowing they never have to restrict or limit anything.
Right. And that's a really important point as well. The restrictions, when we start judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves, second guessing ourselves, what does that do to us?
Yes. The first thing it does, it creates that excess weight in our body. It creates self-doubt. It creates this process where we disconnect with who we are as a spiritual being because we're so into our ego. And one of my favorite expressions are we are spiritual beings having multitude of human experiences. And when we learn how to really tap into our intuition, we can learn how to balance between our ego and our higher wisdom, which then we have less conversations with the ego and we have more conversations with our spirit and higher consciousness, which guides us in such a beautiful way where it's like, we don't have to judge ourselves. We're beautiful just the way we are.
And judgment and criticizing ourselves creates health issues. As the
Yes,
body starts attacking itself, we want to let go of all the attacks and just say, love me just how I am.
exactly. You're perfect just as you are. And you have a light to reach into your soul to get that energy. You're here on this earth, in Earth School, and there's a reason why you're here. And whatever that weight is attached to, that mess becomes a message. You have a purpose. And again, one of my biggest purpose is to get the ladies, get the women to recognize that you have a purpose. Your purpose is not to spend all your time focused on all the things you don't like about yourself. Focus on what you love about yourself. When you focus on what you love about yourself, that just raises the frequency and shifts things, and opportunities show up. Love yourself and everything. It's like rainbows and rainbows. And yes, we're allowed to see rainbows as often as we want to.
And that's the whole point of the show, is to go beyond all this mental noise and stepping into our bright, vibrant soul and live that life that we wish to live, with no limitations, no restrictions, to have
Exactly.
fun, to enjoy life. I don't think we chose to incarnate on this earth to live our life in suffering, being small, being insignificant. We're here for a purpose.
Yes. And it's interesting that you say that, because we didn't really choose to be reincarnated to suffer. However, because we are humans, we tend to get comfortable in the struggles. Sometimes being in the struggle is just so much easier than raising your vibration to be in joy. We have to remind each and every person, as we're doing here today, that yes, we have agreements. We have the agreement that we can focus on the discomforts and the pain and the limitations and restriction. And we have that same agreement that we can focus on abundance and joy and excitement and uplifting, and wow, how this world can just be this beautiful energy of light that we're in. So we do get to choose whatever the agreements are. And being that we are spiritual beings, ideally at the end of time, when it's time to travel back home, yeah, I believe we're going to be asked, did we serve our soul's purpose? We're going to be asked, did we serve our soul's purpose? And if not, we got to come back and do it. I'd rather just serve my soul's purpose now while I'm here.
What do you think is the ultimate soul purpose for us to be here?
I think it's really moving into that space of joy and recognizing that we are spiritual beings and that we have this right of being light, to being calm, to being easy, to being just in a space of recognizing that whatever is going on in our lives is meant to be going on in our life. Nothing is happening to us. Everything's happening for us. And whatever it is that's going on, there's the lesson that we all need to know. You mentioned earlier about everything that's going on with politics and the elections. This is part of the journey to get us to where we have to go. If everything was supposed to be just so easy, there'd be no journey. We have to learn lessons. We have to go through some of the obstacles and challenges and the dips, the highs, the lows. We have to go through it. Otherwise, what do we really learn about ourselves through our soul's journey, which is why it's called the soul's journey? We need those lessons.
Ultimately, I think we're here to help each other, to uplift each other. We're not here to live on islands. We're here as a collective to uplift society. But we get so caught up in all this noise that we forget that we're here to have fun. Yeah, we have to go
Yes,
through some challenges, and the challenges never end, because that's part of the human journey. You climb one mountain, there's another one right behind it. You just have to
exactly.
keep going. But if you can step more and more into your light, the challenges aren't so challenging anymore.
And when we think about it in reference like or school, it's like being in school. You know, you go through your different classes, and at the end of, let's say, a week or a month, you're given a test. And you're going to be graded on your test. Assuming you did well on your test, you then have a testimony to share with everybody. If you didn't do so well with your test, you may have to repeat it again, which is what the patterns and cycles are all about. Sometimes we do have to repeat things because there's more to learn about that particular chapter. I always say to my ladies, don't be in such a rush to rush through your journey. Appreciate it, discover it, sit with it, learn about it, and be excited about it, because you're going to get to where you have to go. Enjoy it while you're going.
And I also think it's important, if you're going through a challenge or a test, whatever it is, you don't judge yourself. You don't criticize yourself about it. It's like, I'll just try again. I'll try a new way, because we got to really get rid of all that judgment and criticism, because it forces us to shut down.
Yes, exactly. And that's a big part to why so many people experience pain, illness, and disease is because we're so trapped in all of the lower frequencies, energies, and we're not recognizing that the easiest and the quickest way to heal really is about shifting your whole thought process. And again, coming back to contracts and agreements, most people have contracts and agreements with pain, illness, and disease. That doesn't mean it has to be a life sentence. It's understanding what the body's trying to tell you at the time when the illness, disease, or pain flares up. And once you understand it, then you can get into that space and recognize that, okay, I'm ready to shift from this and perhaps move out of that agreement, change the agreement. The Pluto being in Capricorn in its last final hours, this was the perfect time to work on changing those agreements. We don't need those old agreements anymore. We are literally moving into a very different energy going forward. We don't have to bring the same version of ourselves into this new energy. We can leave this version of us right here and step onto the stage of life as this new version of yourself. As we move into Pluto and Aquarius.
You say these agreements, but destiny isn't fixed. You can change, you can rewrite this story. Because I was sick and disabled for 38 years with multiple sclerosis and other issues. I don't have any of that anymore.
That's exactly to your point. I had a mentor many years ago use this expression, which I love so much. We have to understand what the payoff is to holding on to the pain, illness, or disease. And what I mean by the payoff, if somebody has pain, illness, or disease, and they get help, people help them when they're not feeling well. Sometimes the payoff is that they're actually getting help. They're receiving something that they're not willing to ask for on their own. Sometimes it's a matter of saying, how about if I just learn how to express myself and ask for help without having to hold on to the pain, illness, and disease and let that go, allowing ourselves to move into that. So it's really about evaluating what is the payoff. Is that payoff really worthwhile holding on to? When we shift our frequency, when we move into this different version of ourselves, we make that decision. It's like someone who decides from one day to the next that they no longer want to smoke. In theory, you don't have to necessarily go through the whole process of quitting smoking and weaning yourself off. You can literally say to yourself in this very moment, as of today, I believe it to be true that I am a non-smoker. And you see yourself in that space and you're taking the energy of what a non-smoker would be and do. And the next moment or the next day, you move into that new vibration because you're no longer relying to that old version of you. And that's the concept when we talk about old versions and new versions, changing our frequency. It's like being in theater. You've been giving up thoughts. Your part is to be a smoker. And now you get a new part that is not about being a smoker. You have to take on the new traits of that new part. It's the same in life. We get to decide what we want to be for today, how we want to show up today, and what does that look like? And then taking on that role to doing just that and continuing on from that point on. And I would almost guarantee that anybody that takes on the role of this higher frequency, their chances are they're not going to go step back into that old version of themselves.
That's really important, the payoff, because when I was dealing with multiple sclerosis, it was really easy. People open doors for you. There's no dependability. It's very hard to let go of that because that becomes your identity. So you have to do this shift. And sometimes you need some help to ask people, how do I do this? And then you find people like yourself to say that we can guide you on this. We can get you to step into a new story, let go of these old stories and step into the better version of you, you could say, and find that strength, build that foundation. I'd like to really talk about building a strong foundation so you can enjoy this life.
Exactly. And that's what I like to call the astrological and numerology makeup course that I offer is all about. It's letting one understand who they are, what their makeup is really, and what their story was. And where in their astrological chart does it show where you can make these shifts and move into this new identity, so to speak, rather than being known as somebody who has a disability, you might be known as someone that has superpowers. So you're taking on that whole new vibration. And again, as we move into the age of Aquarius, Pluto moving into Aquarius, this is a powerful time. I mean, I don't know if people realize this energy, literally, that we are moving out of, like literally hours from now. We're literally moving out of this and this brand new chapter. Are you excited about this?
Yeah, it's really exciting that with this new energy, you can feel it. It just feels different if you're sensitive to that. You might not be sensitive to energy. At least in my experience, people that are really up in their story, really into their identity, they're not really probably going to feel this energy. What do you think about that?
Well, I love that question. And I think a big part of why some people may not feel this energy is a combination of things. A big part of it is a disconnection with who they are spiritually. When one is not recognizing the energy shifting, they're disconnected from their higher self and what's called the 3D self. We're going to see a big change where people who are more about the 3D energy, and if you want to doesn't know what that means, 3D energy is anything that we can physically see. Anything we can physically touch is 3D energy. As we evolve, we move into the 5D energy, which is things we really cannot touch and things we cannot see, which is all the spiritual aspects of things. So those who may not be feeling this, they may be guided to suddenly start getting curious of listening to what we're talking about here today. They may start to get this desire to want to know more because they're going to be pulled into it. People are going to be, because more of us are going to be in that higher frequency, more people are going to be pulling people who may not necessarily feel this energy. They're going to be pulled into this energy, becoming curious, like, well, what's this all about? And why do I feel weird? And we have to pay attention to that language in reference to when people say, well, why am I feeling this? I had somebody say to me the other day, they literally called me and said, did you see the moon? And this person, I know this person for a really long time, and I've never heard this person ever ask that question. I'm like, did I see the what? They're like, did you see the moon? I'm like, of course I seen the moon. I look at the moon all the time. They're like, oh my God, could you tell me what this moon's about? I was in shock because I'm like, really? In my head, I was like, who are you? But I was also very excited because that was the thing that opened up the door for that person to get them excited about this energy. And I sat with that person for 2 hours, just talking about the moon's energy, how it's impacting their energy. And I said, if you want to learn more, let's meet weekly to discover, because there's just too much to talk about in one sitting. And also, you don't want to feed them too much information at one time, because then it gets a little overwhelming.
Yeah, that's really key. The curiosity really is the key. If you're really curious, like what's going on here. And I think too much in this society, we're too rushed. They're not having that patience for things to unfold, but they just slow down a little bit and say, wait a second, what's going on here?
Yes.
It's a new pathway.
In fact, I think this year in 2024 was the very first time that there was so many people who were more aware about the most recent lunar and solar eclipse that we've had. There were so many people talking about it in the street. Just generally, I was like, oh, there's a lot of people talking about this energy more than usual. I'm like, this is a really good thing.
Is there any last nuggets of wisdom you would impart on the audience?
I think one thing I want to say is just give yourself time to be still. Put the phone down, turn the TV off, turn the radio off, and just be still. Give yourself permission. 5 or 10 minutes a day, every day, because that's the best way to really allow yourself to become curious of what's really going on. Because what we do as humans is we're constantly distracted. And when we're distracted, we may miss that beautiful moon in the sky because we never bothered to look up. So look up, people. Look up. Look up.
Yeah. And slow down. The most important thing is slow down, be patient, be curious.
Exactly. And collaborate. Collaborate. Network. Find those people that's going to lift you up, support you, and push you up the cliff.
Yeah, this has been a really great conversation today. If people want to reach out to you, how could they do that?
Best way is through my email, which is healingwithin76@gmail.com.
And do you have a website or a Facebook page too for them
Yes.
to connect?
Yes. Website is holistic with a W, fitnessny.com. And I'm on Facebook under Joanne Angel BarryColon. You can find me there. I also have a YouTube, which is also under Holistic Fitness NY.
All right. That is great. Well, thank you again for joining us in the
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank
All right.
you.
That